The era of the West dictating and influencing how African countries should be is gradually coming to a close. As Captain Traore once said, Westerners consider that we belong to them, and our wealth also belongs to them. They think that they are the ones who must continue to tell us what is good for our states. This era is gone forever. Our resources will remain for us and our population. Although this notion has not yet spread across the whole continent, it has taken deep root in the Sahel. Since the coup occurred in the Sahel, France's influence, which used to be the ultimate power, exploiting resources and influencing politics, has been reduced drastically. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have all kicked out French forces and ended diplomatic relations with them. However, it's not just France facing this backlash. The superpower of the West, the United States, is also facing the same heat. At first, when France was being hit, it seemed like the US was protected, but all of a sudden everything changed. It's no longer news that in March 2024, after a high-profile meeting between the authorities in Niger and military officials from the US Army, the military leader of Niger, General Tianu, through his spokesman announced to the shock of the world that it had ended the status of force agreement, which allowed the US military to settle in the country. You see, the US military has been in Niger since 2012, and they established 2 military bases. One is known as Air Base 101 in Niamey, and another is known as Air Base 201 in Agadez, which was built 6 years ago and is regarded as the most expensive US base in Africa. The US government spent millions of dollars outfitting the base, and according to the commander of the US Africa Command, if this base is lost, then the US would lose its eyes and ears in the Sahel. Essentially, this base is very important to the US military because it is its spy base for West Africa. However, if the base was truly important to the United States, then maybe they should have been more respectful in their dealing with the authorities in Niger. But then again, the US military probably thought that the current authorities in Niger were similar to the previous ones who were puppets and would readily sell the country to them in exchange for monetary benefits. However, as the commander of the US Africa Command came to later realize, the military leaders of not just Niger, but Mali and Burkina Faso are sophisticated and different from the democratically elected leaders who can be easily swayed. These guys value and prize the sovereignty of their country above all else and are ready to forego any relationship with any country, regardless of whatever benefit that country wants to offer. This is exactly what happens between Niger and the United States. The US military officials came to that meeting with their usual superiority mindset, thinking that if they said jump, the authorities in Niger would say, how high? But they got the shock of their lives. The US officials demanded that Niger end diplomatic relations with Russia and Iran if they wanted the US military to remain in the country, as if the US military had anything to offer Niger. In response, the authorities in Niger decided to end the military agreement and told them to get out. According to General Tiani, Niger forcefully denounces the condescending attitude of the US, accompanied by the threat of retaliation from the head of the American delegation towards the Nigerian government and people. Shocked by the response of Niger, the US officials started finding ways to ensure that they would remain in Niger. But nothing worked, and they had to accept that it was over. And then they announced that they had agreed to leave Niger, as if it were a choice. Anyway, the recent report indicates that the US troops have completed the first phase of their withdrawal from Niger. This news was announced by the Ministry of National Defense of Niger and the US Department of Defense. The announcement was made at the signing ceremony of documents transferring American rights to the Nigerian Army at Air Base 101 in Niger's capital, Niamey. Transferring American rights to the Nigerian Army at Air Base 101 in Niger's capital, Niamey, was in the presence of American Ambassador Kathleen Fitzgibbon and other civil and military personalities of the two countries. But as you just heard, this is the first phase of the withdrawal process. According to Colonel Mamani Sani Kiau, the Chief of Staff of the Niger Army, The agreement calls for the removal of all American military assets in Niger, including those in Niamey, Agadez, Oualam, and Diffa by Sept 15. So, this first phase of withdrawal of the U.S. forces and its equipment in Air Base 101. According to Colonel Sani Kiao, after removing forces and equipment from Air Base 101, the United States will focus on withdrawing from Air Base 201 in Agadez City. Nigerian and U.S. officials will work to ensure a safe, orderly, and responsible withdrawal, he added. The interesting thing is that the withdrawal came a day after the first AES summit was held in Niamey, Niger, and it underscores how the new military leaders have redrawn security relations that had defined the region in recent years. The summit, which officially brought Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso into a confederation, is a message to the West, particularly the U.S., that the Sahel and its resources are no longer theirs to control and influence. It was also a message to the West African bloc, ECOWAS, that the three nations have left the bloc for good. During the summit, the three leaders signed a charter officially establishing the Confederation of the Alliance of Sahel States. And just like other unions and blocs, the three leaders established an investment bank and a stabilization fund for the Confederation as per the recommendation of the draft text. The president of Mali, Assimi Goïta, was appointed as the AES president for a one-year term and expressed his firm determination to transform the alliance into a model of regional cooperation, solidarity, and development, as well as a model of sub-regional integration in accordance with the principles of the Liptako-Gourma Charter. Aside from that, the president of Niger, General Tiani, said during the meeting that people of the AES have irrevocably turned away from ECOWAS. He further called for turning the bloc into an alternative to any sham regional organization by creating a sovereign community of peoples not under the domination of foreign powers. In his own words, it is up to us today to make the AES Confederation an alternative to any artificial regional group by building a community free from the control of foreign powers. Now, the United States is not the only Western country that is withdrawing from Niger. A few days ago, the German Minister of Defense announced plans to relocate its personnel and equipment from its transport base located in Niamey, Niger, by August 31st. The base was initially established in 2016 to support the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, popularly called MINUSMA. However, after Mali kicked out MINUSMA in 2023, the base was operated at a reduced capacity. It was used as a transport base for operations to evacuate German nationals in Africa. In a statement released to the public, Germany stated that the decision comes amidst a reassessment of its military cooperation with Niger, citing security concerns and the expiration of the current interim agreement governing the base. The interesting thing is that at the end of May, Germany and Niger had reached an interim agreement allowing the Bundeswehr to continue operating the air transport base in the capital, Niamey, until the end of August. However, negotiations to extend that agreement broke down, notably because the base's personnel would no longer benefit from immunity from prosecution. What this means is that Niger refused to grant immunity to German soldiers if they broke the law. That is, they will be prosecuted in Niger if they ever broke the law. The German military didn't like that part of the demand, so they opted to leave Niger totally. Well, that's good news because their presence in Niger was not helping the insecurity. They were just occupying space, just like the U.S. military, whose presence in Niger did not help to alleviate the crisis. Despite the withdrawal of the German forces, the German government has stated that it intends to continue bilateral training assistance with Niger on a limited capacity, with a focus on non-lethal areas such as medical services, transport, maintenance, and logistics. In addition, injured and disabled Nigerian soldiers will continue to receive treatment from German hospitals. This means Germany is still much interested in developing and deepening diplomatic relations with Niger. Well, regardless of their decision, all foreign base dismantling and leaving Niger is good news. Now, with the cooperation and forces of the other AES members, Niger will be able to focus on dealing with the insecurity that has plagued the country and the Sahel region at large. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.